This is the On the Pony Express podcast, part of the On3 network. Check out all the SMU coverage you need at ontheponyexpress.com. Now, here's your host, Billy Embody.
1, 2, 3, let me go.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the On the Pony Express podcast. I am Billy Embody. Thanks for listening. We've got a lot to get to today as we are giving you a little weekend edition of the podcast to help preview ACC Media Day on Monday, as well as wrap up the summer workouts that SMU just finished up on Thursday. We were out there for Break the Rock. But first, we are presented by our friends at StatusJet, statusjet.com. Head there now, talk with David Henry and his team about how they can help you plan your perfect game day experience for SMU. The calendar is about to shift to August, which means SMU plays football week 0 at Nevada. It's the perfect opportunity to plan a trip to Reno. Lake Tahoe's right there. That is a huge destination for private jets. And when you use the code PonyUpACC, you can get a discount on your round trip flight with our friends at StatusJet. So whether it's a big group, small group, family, friends, business associates, they can get you from point A to point B with that level of luxury that you expect every time when you fly on a private jet. So appreciate StatusJet for their support of the On the Pony Express podcast. It's football season. It's time to elevate your game day experience with StatusJet. SMU did wrap up summer workouts on Thursday with the Break the Rock tradition, signaling the end of those summer workouts and now fall camp beginning. And Sean Griswold met with the media afterwards, the strength and conditioning coach for SMU, and had a lot of good things to say about his guys. And I think going into now year 3, we're seeing the identity of this program take the next step. And we saw it. The guys just felt more comfortable last year going into the season, and there was a lot of confidence. We know that was validated with the AAC championship win. Now we've got to see it go up a level because they are going to the ACC, but the accountability, the work, the workouts largely remain the same. What I can say is that I feel like SMU's in a better competitive state of mind because they have added more competition. You look at the offensive and defensive lines, you look at that wide receiver room and what they did in the summer workouts. There are multiple position groups on this team that going into this season, because of the depth that they've added or because of younger players stepping up, there's going to be more competition in camp. Last year, Ahmad Walker was the no doubt starting will or middle linebacker, however you wanted to get him on the field. He was going to be out there no matter what. Alex Kilgore ends up getting one of the starts game 1. Kobe Wilson emerges. Well, now there's all of that back and forth with those guys, as well as guys like Brandon Maiazono, as well as guys like Justin Medlock, who you add into the mix. You're looking at guys like Brandon Booker and Zach Smith, 2 true freshmen, to push those players. That's just an example, I think, of how this overall team is a little bit different from last year. I just think, I don't know if there's this dramatic talent jump at some of these positions, like wide receiver. All they added is Ashton Cozart. Linebacker, all they added was Justin Medlock, and then they brought in 2 true freshmen in Zach Smith and Brandon Booker. They brought in Terrion Lee from Georgia Southern as kind of a depth piece. Should be official and join the team at some point here soon, but there isn't this change like we saw before last year, where we knew they were bringing in so many new faces on the defensive line, and we knew that the faces that were already in Dallas on the defensive line were, yes, in some cases like Elijah Chapman and DeVere Levelston, somewhat proven players, but the overall sense was we had to upgrade talent. We needed to bring in more for this defense to work. They brought in Chris Megginson, Charles Wood. Those are your starters at corner. We knew all of those things were happening. This year, whenever they brought in players, and if you look at the defensive line, I think this is a good example of it. They brought in Mike Lockhart. They brought in Justin Jefferson. They brought in Tank Booker. They brought in Jafari Harvey. They weren't done then. Then they added Blake Burris this summer. Then they added Jared Harrison Hunt. They kept going because they know that there's good talent jumps that they've made with the guys that are now on the roster, but they've also needed more because this program has to go through an ACC schedule. So the one interesting thing I will say as Sean Griswold met with the team is I think he and his players now have a little bit more of a culture developed. And the culture was there for the start of last season because we saw what it produced on the field. We saw them, play, in the game at Oklahoma. TCU was a disappointment, but then they ripped off an undefeated season in AAC play. And then they went to Boston College and were at least competitive in that game. The culture, though, as they ended the summer workouts, you could tell it had taken a big step. You could tell the competition on the team had been taken up a notch. Well, now that competition and the talent level, top to bottom, has been taken up a notch, and the chip on the shoulder for some positions to get better is certainly there. Sean Griswold talked about the wide receiver room and talked about how Romello Brinson, put up freakish numbers, 11-3 in the long jump. Keyshawn Smith went 39 inches in the vert. Some of those guys, Jake Bailey, are always working hard. That group continues to push itself, and they know that they didn't add too much this summer, so they have to take a next step. When you look at some of the positions that they did add a bunch of players, like the defensive line, they know they're vying for so much playing time. They know that they still have to prove themselves because they haven't taken a snap for SMU. And then you have leaders like Elijah Roberts and Isaiah Wacobia and Jonathan McGill and others that just push themselves so hard that really rubs off on the rest of this team. And in last year, there were so many new faces. There were so many changes. This year, there are new faces, but there's a lot more of a established culture on this team that has won, that knows what Sean Griswold and his staff put together works. And I think that led them to having a little bit better of a summer, from what I understand. And Preston Stone and Kevin Henry Jennings are competing their tails off. Both are going to the ACC Media Days to represent SMU. And, that's, I think, says a lot about this team. There's competition everywhere. Even though the ACC wanted teams to bring multiple quarterbacks and showcase the talent in this league at the quarterback position, which is there, SMU, you can make the argument both guys, with what they've put together over the course of their careers, deserve that recognition. They deserve it. It's not truly manufactured, and I think both are going to compete. And my bet is Preston Stone taking the game one snaps, but Kevin Jennings is right there. He's putting in a ton of work as well. And I know he was throwing after practice with Jordan Hudson in the afternoon on campus, and Isaiah Wacobia got some extra work by himself. Those are the type of things that have to happen for this team to be ready to go. I mean, they have to have all of their details refined, all of their craft as in as good a shape as it can be going into fall camp, because third weekend or whatever weekend it ends up being in August, they're heading over to Nevada against a program that is really looking to drum up some interest in their program, and they've got to be ready to go right away. So a lot of work being put in to this fall camp to be ready to go. And that's the thing with Sean Griswold. He's had to tell his team, hey, let's settle down. I'm watching your catapult numbers. I'd rather tell a guy like Logan Parr, whoa, not go. For those of you who know that expression, sorry, but SMU has Logan Parr coming back from injury. And, Sean Griswold kind of has to tell him, it's okay to relax, take your rehab day by day, and trust the process so that you can be ready for the season opener or whenever they deem is the right time to play him. That's something that we haven't gotten addressed just yet from Rhett Lashley, but indications are that he's going to be at practice in some capacity, I would imagine, early on. The key is how do they make sure that he's not overdoing it, because he's a really critical piece to SMU. And hey, the highest rated player on EA Sports College Football 25. I'm excited for my Xbox to come in later this month. I finally got around to doing that, and we'll be maybe we'll have time to start a little online dynasty for those who have Xbox on the Pony Express. So something there. But trying to think if there's anything else with the summer workouts that really caught my eye. We've dropped a ton of information, just kind of over as much as you can take away from summer workouts at ontheponyexpress.com. Subscribe for just $1 for your first 2 months using code SMU1. That's SMU, the number 1, on theponyexpress.com. Fall camp is here, starts next Wednesday. So excited. We are going to have all the intel that we can get you guys on how the Mustangs are looking. So be sure to check it out at ontheponyexpress.com. Justin Osborne was the guy that broke the rock for SMU. He is not going to ACC Media Day, but he did get that honor, and what an honor it is for him. I think he's one of the true leaders for this program. He has really become, I think Preston Stone said you can make a case for him that he's the best player on this team. I think you can very much make the case he's the best offensive player. Elijah Roberts is hanging around on defense, but Justin Osborne, the way he moves, the way he is built physically, he appears healthy now. SMU has a stud in the middle of the center position for the Mustangs, and he spoke with the media after practice and just really just adamant about the work that was put in for this entire group. And, for him to break the rock, I know it was really special for him. And so congratulations to Justin Osborne for getting that honor to close out the summer. So with that, before we get to our ACC Media Day preview and kind of what we're watching for as the Mustangs head over to Charlotte on Sunday for their Monday ACC Media Day, want to remind you guys about our friends AKM Turf and Greens. AKM Turf and Greens. Hey, in our first week and a half having them on the Pony Express as a podcast sponsor, they landed a client from On the Pony Express. So kudos to our On the Pony Express subscriber for jumping on board with them and getting the backyard makeover that they needed. And we're excited to share all the pictures and videos of that when that's done. And he took advantage of the deal, $500 off a project with code PONYUP or mentioning On the Pony Express. They can hook it up, whether it's a huge backyard like you see on, if you're watching on YouTube, they've done full massive yards, or if you have got a space in your yard that you want to create a little putting green or a really comfortable area that you don't have to maintain with mowing the yard in the heat or trying to figure out how to keep the weeds out, akmturfandgreens.com is the place to go. You can email them at info@akmturfandgreens.com. Alex Carpenter and his entire team, they will get out there. They will see you. It's a free consultation. They'll quote you and, of course, give you that $500 off your project. So reach out to akmturfandgreens.com. We've already got one client booked, paid for, all the things. We're excited to have more of you guys just talk with them about maybe how you can renovate your space in your backyard or your entire yard to better help you and better fit your needs. So with that, guys, it is time to talk about ACC Media Day. SMU goes on Monday. They are kicking things off along with Commissioner Jim Phillips. They will also be on there with Florida State and Georgia Tech. So I'm excited to be over there. I'm only going to be over there Monday because fall camp does start for SMU on Wednesday. So maybe next year there won't be a week 0 game and I'll be able to stay the entire rest of the way to see all the ACC teams that are there. Rhett Lashley and the Mustangs will have the main press conference room late in the day, about 2-ish, I believe, Central Time. And so looking forward to chatting with them there. And also looking forward to chatting with Haynes King. It's been a minute, the Georgia Tech quarterback who's from Longview, Texas. I haven't talked with him since he was a recruit. Florida State will be intriguing, of course. Mike Norvell and the Seminoles. We all know what's going on with Clemson and Florida State. That's a whole nother podcast, a whole nother segment. But Commissioner Jim Phillips is probably one of the key pieces of this entire week. We know that there's at least once again buzz around what's going to happen with realignment, and if that continues for college football. And the ACC is one of the conferences that is involved with that, with Clemson and Florida State tangled up in a lawsuit with the league over their future and how to get out of the grant of rights. So it'll be interesting to see what he says about that, as well as just maybe the direction of the league and how they plan to try and create more money to then dole out and maybe somehow fix what's going on with Clemson and Florida State. Now, I've been clear. They are suing the league. I think you're crazy if you think that Clemson and Florida State are in it for the long haul with the league. But until a judge, which that's why they're arguing over where these proceedings are being held, until a judge strikes down the grant of rights, which then will ultimately get appealed by the ACC, or the decision by the judge, if it's in favor of the ACC, will get struck down by, or will get appealed by the schools. This thing is going to take time. So that is my lukewarm take of the day, is that this thing is going to go on for quite some time. I don't think, this is my opinion, but if the ACC settled with either one, it just opens the door for many other programs to do the same and go take a stab at what their market value is out there for other conferences. But Greg Sankey, commissioner of the SEC, addressed it earlier this week that he's not out there recruiting any schools. So he's trying to steer clear of any litigation, I would imagine, because, look, they would probably at least kick the tires on taking Clemson or Florida State at a reduced rate, just like Oregon and Washington did with the Big Ten. But Sankey's not going to say that publicly. So with that, let's get back on track here. ACC Media Day for SMU, an opportunity to showcase Kevin Jennings, Preston Stone, the two quarterbacks that they're bringing. They're also bringing Elijah Roberts, as well as RJ Maryland, tight end for the Mustangs. So a offensive heavy group for SMU. I was surprised in a sense that they didn't bring J.O. or they didn't bring Jonathan McGill, but with two quarterbacks and RJ Maryland earning it too with his summer that he's had, it makes sense. But again, I think you could have made a case for many players on this SMU team to be deserving of a trip to Charlotte to represent the program. So Preston Stone and Kevin Jennings will be there. Rhett Lashley, I would imagine, will be asked at some point kind of where things stand with the quarterback race. And that's something I'm wondering as well. Like, how serious of a competition is this? Try and get a little bit of intel on that from him. And I would imagine other reporters are wondering that too, because they are bringing two quarterbacks. With SMU, they have two guys that they really trust. I think that's what it really boils down to. And in terms of, them wanting to bring two and have two guys represent the university, that's really what it comes down to. And the league pushing for that as well. It was something that made a lot of sense when it came to bringing both of those guys. But for SMU, I've heard it is going to be a competition. I mean, that's one thing Rhett Lashley has always wanted with this program, is pushing competition at every position. And with the finish to the season Preston Stone had, compiled with everything he did over the course of the season, I do feel like he ends up being the game one starter. But Kevin Jennings has done enough over the course of his career that he's now in a position where he should be challenging for time. He should be pushing Preston, so much so that, and I've said this before, if BYU and TCU don't go well offensively, or at some point over the course of those games, Rhett Lashley's like, this isn't working, they have Kevin Jennings that they can go to, and he has shown the ability to move the offense. So I think it's very much in a different place than it was a year ago. Last year it was, Preston's our guy. He needs the experience. And so we have to ride with him. And it paid off late in the season when it came to games like Memphis in particular and how things were going against Navy. But you do have two seasoned quarterbacks now, and who, both bring a little bit of different style to the table as well. So the results on the field this season have to come, and they have to come right away. They have to come against BYU. They have to come against TCU. That doesn't, as we saw last year, those types of games don't impact what SMU can go out and do in ACC play. But you're not playing the AAC last year, where you did have enough talent where you could run through a bunch of games and win some close ones and do those things. This is a different beast. With the amount of resources invested in SMU, returning quarterback or quarterbacks, they need to go out and steal at least one of BYU and TCU. And mind you, both are at home. Look, one of the things that Sean Griswold said when they broke the rock on on Thursday, was they got a 9-game winning streak at home. They're trying to keep that going. They always want to go undefeated at home. And that's the thing that we can talk, and some people have said this, most people would say they care about what happens against TCU and BYU. But at the end of the day, you got to protect your house. And I think that's where you want, if you're SMU, to get it done, even though those games don't have any impact on how you can play in your league schedule, which is what SMU showed last year. People, after the TCU game in particular, I think we saw there's 1,000,000%. There's some revised predictions that were saying 6 wins, 7 wins, got to go this, got to go that. That's the reality. So you can have two different seasons, and you can have two different results from non-conference and conference. But because of where the quarterback position is, and because of the resources invested and a lot of the staff being back again, you have to produce right away. And that means beating BYU and TCU. And, of course, Nevada and Houston Christian and all that too. But that's where the expectations have to be different, both externally and internally of that group. So I'm excited to hear from Preston and Kevin. Really enjoy spending time around them. They're awesome guys. And they seem to have really handled this competition well and just competing every day. Even if Preston was the 100% that guy, they compete and they keep pushing each other. So that's a good problem, so to speak, to have for SMU, a good situation to have for SMU, I should say. The league will also get introduced to RJ Maryland, who I think has a chance to create a true stardom for his brand and for his legacy at SMU, if he can be that dude. And he's always been a professional in every way since he stepped foot on campus. When he played in 13 games with 6 starts, he started all 14 games last year, recorded second most receptions, 34, reception yards, 518, and reception yards per game, 37 on the team last season. And he's preseason. He was preseason All AAC last year. He ended up being first team All AAC. He's now got to the point where he is a household name for SMU fans. He is very, very good. And when he's on, it's pretty special. Just his blend of being able to catch the football, speed, and now he's added that size. He's really a big, strong kid now. How he performs over the course of the ACC season is going to be one of the most important things that happens for this team. So I'm really excited to see how maybe his mindset has grown over the course of last year, now going into the ACC, how he views it, because he is a critical piece. Because if SMU can, at the very least, have him as a reliable star on offense and find a receiver, then you're looking at, okay, matchup nightmares all over. And we know SMU has options. They've got tons of options. They need a dude. They need at least one dude in the passing game this fall. So RJ Maryland is a pro. I think people are going to be really impressed by him. Obviously, the son of Russell Maryland, so a college football Hall of Famer. So really excited for RJ to get this opportunity. And then you get Elijah Roberts, who is just awesome with the media. Really enjoy it whenever we get a chance to catch up with Elijah. I think Sean Griswold said he was 295. I don't have my note on that in front of me. He was 295. He's, doing this, doing that. And he has gotten to a point where he does all of the little things to stay healthy. People don't understand. I think part of what held Elijah back, maybe elsewhere, was obviously usage and where he'd fit. But he did have some shoulder issues, and they got those cleaned up. And now he's able to do a lot more in terms of, all of the work that he has to do to be this big, strong freak. I mean, we've shown you guys clips before on this podcast of his workouts or, throwing it into our YouTube channel and all of those things. But what he can do in terms of bend and athleticism and size is just special. So SMU is a true star who's returning to the ACC this fall, and it's coming full circle. He's going to represent his program at ACC Media Day. So his family's excited for him. His parents are always rocking on Twitter and make it out to practices in the game. So a true star that SMU has on defense is Elijah Roberts, and he's just the latest to meet with the media at Media Day and represent the Mustangs. So excited for Elijah as well. But other than that, this team is pretty healthy. I'm interested to see maybe how the offensive line shuffle and kind of how they're handling that is probably what another piece that I'm going to ask Rhett Lashley about, because you do have PJ Williams, Savion Byrd, who've been your tackles. Then you go out and add Andrew Chamblee. You do have J.O. in the middle at center. You have Ja'Kai Clark at a guard spot. You have Logan Parr, who's still recovering. You have some other pieces that you've added in the offseason. Where does everyone fit? What are the questions around that? And as always, we want to hear about, how some of the transfers and freshmen are adjusting. But, this is an opportunity for Rhett Lashley to really, I think, flex a little bit when he addresses the media on all of the things that SMU has put in place. That Gary Weber end zone complex. Obviously, the Boulevard is great. He should tout that for opposing fans coming in. Armstrong Fieldhouse. All of the things that have been put in place for this program over many years to get to this point. This is his first real opportunity, in my opinion, to really address those and show, hey, this is why we're here. This is why we belong. We've got to earn the respect, and we will respect the opponents that will play in this league. And all of that respect can be earned for SMU if they do things the right way this fall. But we deserve to be here, and here's why. Because they had the ACC Day, July 1. They were on the ACC network. It was basically a 2-hour ad for SMU, which was great for the university. But this is the first time where national media are going to be all in one spot and all in one area. Because last year, remember, AAC Media Day was in Dallas, and it was before all of this happened. So outside of the local media, for the most part, and a select few national writers coming to Dallas to talk to SMU about their move to the ACC, this is a chance for Rhett Lashley to address the nation, basically, of the college football world, if you will, and share why SMU fits in this league. And just we'll see what happens on the field this fall and how SMU does in terms of building up its status in this league. So with that, guys, speaking of status jet, got to remind you guys one more time before we go to subscribe, to check out statusjet.com and reach out to David Henry and his team. Use the code PonyUpACC for a discount on a round trip flight. It's football season. It's the perfect time for you to jump onto statusjet.com, talk with them about all the right game day trips you should take and how to get there with our friends at StatusJet. So reach out to them today, find that perfect flight, and book with them today. So hope you guys enjoyed this little preview of ACC Media Day, as well as a little bit of a wrap up on summer workouts. We'll catch you next time with a recap from ACC Media Day with another edition of the On the Pony Express podcast.
Thanks for listening to the On the Pony Express podcast with Billy Embody.
Follow us on your socials on X at SMU on3 and on Instagram at on3SMU.
And keep it locked to ontheponyexpress.com for more coverage.